Take it a second.
If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we are back. Welcome, everybody, to the Survival Dispatch podcast. Sorry, guys, I've been talking all day, and my voice is about to give out on me.
You gotta get one more hour, brother.
Right, exactly. So I got my partner in crime, or maybe not in crime. Probably don't want that.
See, we need to change spots again because
yeah,
I look like
he looks like a hobbit. Yeah.
When I'm back here behind you.
So
It's not you.
Dave Kemp, former law enforcement, SWAT commander, head trainer extraordinaire. We're out here at SHOT Show right now, and we got our buddies from CCW Safe, Stan and Kent, and we're going to talk about the need for self-defense and being prepared in multiple ways to handle a self-defense situation. And what do you do if you get into one of those situations? What is the next steps? These guys are experts on that. So stick with us a little bit. It's going to be a little bit different, as we talked about yesterday, this week, because we're out at SHOT Show and we're doing stuff with people in the industry that are experts in certain fields. So over there, you probably see an empty chair, and that's because Mike Sterling, we had a few snafus. These casinos are gigantic, yes. And you literally are walking miles indoors in these places. So he's a little bit behind, but
I feel like we're
going to press on.
Hangover a little bit. We're in this giant hotel, this suite that, by the way, Jeff Nicholas from
shout out to Jeff
Technologies graciously lent us the space to do the podcast today. So Jeff, appreciate it, and hopefully we can get some more information about him later out.
There's not a tiger in the bathroom, is
there? No.
Someone's tapping on the door back there. I don't know.
So we are going to get rolling with this, and I'm going to start the conversation on what you guys in the industry, what you guys see as the most important thing for the services that you guys offer with your company. Why should people consider self-defense insurance, or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
Why should people consider that, and what sets you guys apart in the industry? We've heard a lot lately about quote unquote insurance companies for self-defense, and some of them are getting a lot of pushback and negative recourse from some people, very big name people. So what sets you guys apart? What makes CCW Safe different from those other companies?
There's a couple of things. First, because you mentioned the word insurance, we don't sell insurance. So we have a different structure for our membership. So we sell legal services membership. You join, you're not getting an insurance policy in your name. We just have a terms of service that lists out all the benefits that we're going to provide to you in the aftermath of your self-defense incident. So we're not subject to the insurance regulators. We don't have this recoupment clause that some people have. So you get into an incident and maybe you go to trial and you lose, or you need to take a plea, which might be favorable for you. The insurance people are going to ask for the money back that they spent on your behalf. We don't do that. We would never do that. In fact, we walked away from the state of Washington because they wanted us to do that, require us to do that. And we said, we're never going to ask our members to do that. So we're not an insurance company. We're a legal services membership. What really makes us different than anybody else, it's really a combination of things. There's really three. One is what we just refer to as holistic coverage. So we have this full suite of services that's bigger and broader than what anybody else in the industry does. And it's everything that you need to get you through the aftermath of your incident, from the legal side, finding and vetting attorneys, paying all the bills. We have a critical response team that shows up on site, boots on the ground, in the event of a deadly shooting or serious shooting. Nobody else in the industry does that. So we have retired homicide detectives that we deploy anywhere in the country within 24 hours, depending on your location. Sometimes we're there sooner. Depends on what time of day you call us, and we start supporting you in person, getting you and your family through what you're about to face in the criminal justice system. And no one else does that. Everybody sort of pays the bills. And when we talk about our competitors, we always just say this. They pretty much do what they say they're going to do. They just don't do the things that we do. And Stan can take over here. But the model really was built on the kind of service that police officers get from the FOP, and then we advance from there.
As one of the co-founders, you know, what we did, and I'm sure Dave will understand this, we wanted to bring the same response and resources that police officers get when they're involved in self-defense shooting, on-duty shooting. So what we found that when we come upon retirement is that when you leave, you're a citizen now. And now it's like, okay, there's no coverage that you get like that. So we designed it. We actually disrupted the industry, because back then they only did, you know, firearms coverage. We covered anything that you would use to defend your life. So if it's a knife, and we've had several of those in the past couple of years. You stab somebody to defend yourself, you got to choke somebody to defend yourself. We wouldn't be there for you. And what citizens don't understand is that when they get involved in these things, they believe that they're a good guy because they have been attacked. But they don't understand that you're about to step into this unknown reality of the criminal justice system. And it's not quite that. And you need people behind you, and you believe that you can say what you want without a lawyer. Cannot. You're not thinking about the things you need to do to prepare yourself for that secondary fight, which is the legal battle of, you know, defending your actions. Just like policemen, we have to have a justifiable homicide. It has nothing to do with 2A, it has to do with a homicide. It has to be determined justifiable.
And how timely is it that you're talking about coverage for defending yourself in an unarmed self-defense situation? You know, we've seen some big cases lately where people have had to, you know, hold, you know, lateral vascular neck restraint or something like that. And that's a big deal, because, you know, I'd say more often than not, even people that have concealed carry, most of the time they're not. I wouldn't say most of the time, but a lot of times they're actually not carrying. They have a permit, they've got a gun, but then they just run to Lowe's for a 2x4. Like, you know, I'll just leave that at home. And next thing you know, they're wrestling a guy who's trying to carjack them with their kid in the backseat. You know, so I think that's a very, very important aspect of what you guys do as far as the coverage. And one thing I want to ask you is, without getting way too in the weeds, how does pricing work for you guys? And is it one price for everything, or is there different levels? How do you guys work that?
Yeah, we have a couple different levels of plans, but all of our plans include the core services, which again includes things like the critical response, unlimited funds for your criminal or civil defense, and that includes investigators, expert witnesses. Those things add up pretty quickly. All that's in there. All of our plans have a minimum coverage for a $1 million bond. And so the only reasons you would add on or step up might be if you bought a plan that was just for you, and then later your spouse starts to carry, so you can add your spouse to your plan for $100. And then the last thing would be if you wanted protection for civil liability. So if you were worried about a financial judgment being rendered against you in a civil case. And I get the question all the time from potential members, like, should I get that? Should I not get that? It's a personal decision. Have we paid on some civil cases? Yes. Has it been a giant number? No, not necessarily. We don't know what your circumstances are going to be. We don't know what your circumstances are. I always tell this kind of funny story. My nephew joined a few years ago. He's like, should I get the civil liability? And I'm like, you're 27 years old. You have an 18-year-old pickup truck, and you have an apartment where you sleep in a mattress on the floor. Let them have it. You don't need it. But if you reach a point later in life, maybe where you have some assets and you're concerned about that, then it's something to consider. But each person should decide for themselves. But there is no plan where you get inferior service. It's all the same service. All those experts that we have are deployed against any and all of our members in the case.
And also the thing about it, to piggyback, Kent, you know, we designed it that way for a reason. It's because we know from the world that we come in that if you have a limit on the funds that and the resources to defend your actions, you know, go to court, hire a lawyer, expert witnesses, stuff like that. The way that this thing is so unfair, because it's not about what the truth is. It's about who tells the most significant story. So if the state, and you're going to get the state's money, so you need to have something that matches that. So we use our money. There's no reimbursement. There are no caps, because there can't be caps on it. You don't know how much it's going to cost.
When you talk about no reimbursement, is that for bond money too? Like if somebody were
absolutely.
we
walk away
up
from
front.
We pay the bond fee, whatever the 10% is, and then we keep it pushing because it's part of the deal. It's like we understand the process. You have to know that you have to choose between getting out of jail, getting a good lawyer. You don't need to make that choice. So we give you all of the things that you need. And then when you're in trial and you got to decide, okay, do I need this expert witness or do I spend more for this attorney? Or do I take a public defender? Well, no, you need the money to resource this thing out until it's over and not have to worry about it, just like cops.
Yeah. So what sounds really good to me as far as from the law enforcement side and as an instructor, we've taught thousands upon thousands of civilians in our Illinois concealed carry classes. And the one thing in my mind, you hear about these other plans and it's like, well, we'll reimburse you. That's a big problem. That's a huge problem. So almost across the board, when I tell people to do their research, it's the number one thing is, are you going to be able to get this stuff up front when you need it? And if not, you need to flush that down the toilet right away. So let me ask you, my next big question is always, how are like attorneys assigned? So if I need you, are you guys just going to look in the yellow pages, for an attorney in my town, or how does that work?
Yeah. So when you call our hotline, you get connected to one of our attorneys. There's a little quick screening that happens about 30 seconds, and then they connect you to our National Trial Counsel, who's a guy named Don West. People might know his name. He was the lead counsel on the George Zimmerman case in Florida about 10 years ago. So that's 39 years of criminal defense experience, dozens of
and he's a self-defense expert attorney.
That's right.
Because people don't they think that these other companies throw out, hey, they're 2A lovers, they love 2A. No, you need somebody for the job of self-defense because it's a very unique realm. If you don't have trial experience in self-defense and know what to do, you got a problem. So we don't need the DUI case guy, the guy that just works the gun cases. You need the guy that knows how to get you out of the trouble that you might be in because of a self-defense case.
So Don, now we have members who say, well, I have an attorney I want to use. Can we use him? We'll vet them. If they pass muster, we have no problem. We've worked with some of those selections many times, but most of the time, most people don't have this type of attorney that they know. They're like, hey, this guy did my divorce. Can we use him? No, we can't use him.
Yeah, because your reputation's on the line too.
So absolutely.
We want to get the best possible outcome for the members based on the circumstances of their incident. And so that starts with the best attorney. So Don will find, locate, and vet the attorney, and then we'll retain them and get them started. And our philosophy also is we want a local attorney because we want the people, they need to know the homicide detectives. They need to know the people in the DA's office. They need to be known in the courthouse. Everything is going to go better with the top local attorney. There's some people in this industry who are like, oh, well, we live in this state and we're going to, we still take care of you. We're going to hire a local attorney to get us access to the courts, but we do your case. We just think there's a much, much better way. And that's having a local attorney who's really connected, who will work your case. And we also don't pick attorneys like with firms where they're like, okay, I have a junior associate who's going to write all the briefs and do all this. We require our person to do all the work because we're hiring the best expertise. It's like you can't farm that out and just check in every week or two. You have to be running the case. And so we're very, very particular about who we pick. And we just think when you've been involved in that shooting, right, and you guys, you're law enforcement, but you can't even remember how many times you pulled the trigger. You can't remember the color of the shirt somebody had on, but now you're supposed to pick a competent attorney in the same, shock and awe that you're going through in an incident. We just think that's absurd. So we'll do it for you and we'll get the best one.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest kind of resistance to this type of thing in our classes and civilians is I've got it's every class I get people tell me, I don't need that stuff. If I ever get in a shooting, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm not going to shoot anybody because they're stealing the hubcaps off my car. It'll be life and death. And I don't really need that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to roll with it. What would you say to people who say they really don't think they would need something like this?
Well, I'll jump in and say that. No, what the bottom line is this. In the great scheme of things, there are, millions of concealed carriers, right? And the incidents are very small, but the ones that actually need it, we don't know. It's the bad guy. He decides who needs it and who doesn't. When you're attacked and you're that one and you don't have it, you cannot afford the case. We had the most significant case in the industry back in 2015. It occurred, but 2017, when we actually had one of our members had a murder case, right? It was the first in the industry. The other notable companies did not have any. We actually proved that it actually works, right? And we spent $480,000 for that guy to have a defense, and he didn't pay anything back. He paid $147 at the time, and he didn't pay another dime. We didn't send him a receipt or nothing. We gave him the best. He needed the best, and we got the acquittal. And that's what it's about, because what they need to understand is that this is affirmative defense, which is, I shot that guy. This is not the police running and trying to find out who did it. When you do that, we also understand as cops that the officers, nothing against them, they go, oh, slam dunk. He said he did it. I don't have to grab the videos. I don't have to go and interview anybody. That's when we take advantage of that, because we understand behind the blue curtain, we fly in with our homicide folks and investigators, get with the local folks, and we grab all that stuff. And we did it in that case as well. It took them, their investigators didn't even look at trying to find witnesses until 18 months later. We had everything wrapped up in the first week. And that's important. It's important to have somebody behind you, someone that knows what they're doing. And that's what we're about.
Yeah.
How critical is it to have something happen fast when you're involved in one of these things? Because as you just said, some of these investigators take a long time to get all this stuff together. Having a team to be able to pull all that information as quickly as possible in a crime scene type situation, I think it's important before everything gets cold to get all of that information. So you guys, obviously you have a critical response team that you send out for these things. How important is it to have that in those, critical moments after an incident?
I'll jump on again. So other than our experience, the critical response team is the most significant thing that we do, boots on the ground. No one else does it. There's some of them that say that they have a critical response team, which is some little girl that went through some emergency class that tries to find your attorney. That's not it. We have homicide detectives that have been there for 15 years. We get out there and try to find out, not only have they also been in shootings and worked with officers in shootings and know what you need here, because that we have to make you healthy to get ready for court, but also trying to find the things that are missed by the officers. And I told you, front of defense means that the officer's not going to do his job. They might pick up some casings, but they're not going to get everything else. It's important to have the person that knows what they're doing, to find out, that has been through this over, and that know how to pull it out of you, calm you down, and get you ready for this next fight. So it's very important to get that in place. If you don't do it, you're lagging, because most of the time, because of the decision you made before, during, and after the shooting, you dig a hole for yourself.
Yeah, here's the thing I found in 29 years of law enforcement, and Stan knows this as a former cop. It's not that the police are really for or against anybody.
That's correct.
But they're really not highly motivated to be on your team to go the extra mile. And what I mean is, a lot of times the mindset of cops is, okay, here's my next call on the computer. I'm going to this. What do I need to do to get through this? I need to talk to this person. I need to get these things. I need to put them in evidence. Hey, write your statement on this piece of paper, do this thing, and it's done. And I go to the next call. And sometimes there's not the attention to detail, like to the victim who just got in a shooting. This is life-changing.
Absolutely.
And there's the possibility of jail time and financial losses. And it's overwhelming, and to not really have somebody that's really working hard for you is kind of a scary thing. So it's not that the cops really aren't doing their job necessarily, but sometimes, you got two cops working in a town where they need to have 20, and for all kinds of reasons, there's just not the ability sometimes for them to do the job that we as potential victims need them to do. And man, to have a team of former homicide investigators and a team of people to come in and work on your behalf is invaluable. It's like hard to put a price on that. And for the people that say, well, I don't know if I'm going to need it. It's like this stuff goes hand in hand. If you're going to carry a gun for a living, whether you're a cop or a civilian for concealed carry, you also need to invest in other stuff, good equipment, probably some first aid gear, some tourniquet.
Sure.
There's things that go along with the gun culture of concealed carry.
Absolutely.
And this should be part of the thing that goes along with it. And for, relatively not a lot of money, you think about how much money you might spend. If you come to Vegas for the SHOT Show, you're going to spend more money in one day on your hotel and food, probably 10 times more than it might cost to get signed up for a year of service of you guys. So for me, my perspective is this stuff should go, it's hand in hand. It's just part of, it's like get in a car, you put your seatbelt on. It's like there's things that just go together. And I think that's how people need to start thinking about having coverage in case for god awful time when something like this might happen.
Yeah, you should actually spend as much time, with stuff downrange, preparing for an incident as you do in the aftermath of a shooting.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of guys, they don't realize that, they think it's like TV, right? Where, the officers come in, they're on your side and they're going to figure out that you're the good guy and then that's it. Well, this is all about witness statements, your personal statements, and the evidence to support your actions.
Right.
So even if in those times where, you don't realize when these people out there, even the witnesses, right? You see somebody, the guy in the red shirt saw it, right? And then the patrolmen come up. Now, when the guys in the suits come, the people don't want to be bothered now. The guy in the red shirt goes back into apartment A. You don't say nothing to the officers. Those some of those, our competitors say, don't say anything to cops. If it has something to do with your defense, you better say it. If some evidence over there, if that guy saw it, you better say that guy saw it, okay? Because you are your first responder. I mean, the officer operating secondarily.
Yeah, well, my advice in a class, in our concealed carry classes is, if the cops show up and say what happened and you say, I'm not saying anything till my lawyer gets here, you put yourself on the bad side. You've kind of set the tone of you against the police. And if the police feel like you're against them, now they're motivated, like, maybe we're going to show this guy what's up or whatever. Yeah. So you need to, if you're going to say anything, it needs to be the facts. Like, hey, what's going on here, John? I shot that guy. My gun is over here in my car. And I'll be glad to talk to you about this all day long, but give me a minute. Cops get 24 or 48 hours to talk, to give their statement, if they're in an officer involved shooting. So you should take a few minutes. So our advice is like, talk about facts that don't, if the police say, how many times, Stan, did you shoot the guy? If you don't say, 3 when there's 17 shell casings on the ground, that might cause some problems. If you don't know, say you don't know, and leave the emotional stuff out of it. So don't tell the police how you feel. Don't say, I feel so bad for shooting this guy. Well, maybe you do, but that's not factual stuff. And that's just stuff a defense attorney can say, oh, you didn't mean to shoot this guy because you said to the cop on body cam, you feel bad, right? Well, that's not what I meant. Well, you want us to rewind the tape? You said it. So you can see how that the waters get real muddy if you start talking about emotional stuff. So we always don't hesitate to advise people, tell the police about facts, tell them you're willing to talk to them all day long. Maybe you need a few minutes. The police are pretty good at nothing else of finding out essentially what has happened. Because there's witnesses, there's evidence on the ground, there's bullet holes in people, there's security cameras. They're probably going to be able to figure that out. Don't get in a hurry to be, antagonistic.
Absolutely.
And you do want the police on your team. You do want them working for you as much as they possibly can, even though it might not be anything near what CCW Safe is going to be able to do for you. But keep it simple, just the facts. Be polite, those type of things. That goes a long way.
We had an interesting incident a couple of years ago. Remember, somebody kicked in his front door on a Sunday morning with a knife. His dog approached the guy, stabbed his dog, was coming after him, used his firearm, shot, called the police. Of course, they came. They took the member in, and he was, for whatever reason, he was like a lot of people, he's like, I'm not saying anything. And we had hired an attorney. Of course, Don was involved. And we actually ended up where the detective who was investigating talked to Don and said, I'm pretty sure I know what happened over there, but your guy's not saying anything. Like, if he could just give me the basic thumbnail, he's going to go home. And so Don got on the phone with him, and the guy's like, yeah, he kicked in the door and did this. And the lady's like, this female detective, she's like, have a nice day. Right. And he was gone. So there is value in knowing the basics to do. Else,
right. So do you guys provide information to members, like suggestions on how to handle, the aftermath of response? What does that look like for them?
We have several videos on our site with over 1,000 pieces of content for members, and actually most of those are just available to the public too, because we're just big believers in training and education. So you can come on the site and search some of these topics, but Gary, who's one of our critical response team, amazing law enforcement background, he has here's the 10 things to do. after your shooting. Here's what to say to the police. Here's what to do with your firearm. We have multiple versions of that from different law enforcement officers. So you can go on and easily see, here's some guys who know exactly what they're talking about and what to do. And of course, when you call our hotline, you're connected to one of our attorneys. So they're able to help you right away too and say, okay, the police haven't arrived yet. When they get there, here's what you need to do. It just depends on the sequence of events and when we're talking.
Yeah, that information is critical to know, just to give people some guardrails. Like how do I navigate this?
Yeah.
What's some general best practices
Yes.
in the industry of how to get through this. And so you're not just, paying some money and getting some contract or something in the mail and not knowing how this is going to work. So how is there any other training? Do you guys provide any other training as far as concealed carry outside of the aftermath of what's going on?
We really find it important to stay in our lane. Like other than the aftermath of the shooting and the response and the resources that we give, we partner with folks who are out there every day doing their thing, and the firearm trainers and stuff like that, preparing you for the fight. Okay. So we really do concentrate on what to do. Now we get into their minds about how not to make yourself a target of a DA by the stuff that you choose to put on social media and all those things when you make yourself look aggressive, because all that stuff's being used against you. Now, it has nothing to do with our service. We still move forward with service, but we try to educate them and say, hey, don't make yourself look like I'm going out to kill the zombies, right? Don't do all that stuff, the Punishers and all those folks, because they use that stuff against you. And the first thing to grab is your social media, and they go ahead and swipe it. So us being former law enforcement, and we know that, okay, we need to protect our folks in certain ways, we jump on it, because that's one of the things that we assign some of our folks to do too, is give them social media, see what's on there, because they're going to be grabbing it. So all those things, the aftermath of the shooting is so important, and that's where our competitors are missing, because they're not training them for that. Because I even go as far as saying that, hey, if you're at the indoor range and you're shooting, when you're changing out your mags and putting your bullets in, you go through the 911 call. I've just been involved in the shooting. I'm in the victim. The person's here. I'm wearing this, blah, blah. Every time you finish. Now, I've just been involved in the shooting. So that way you practice so that you know what you're going to say. You don't say something stupid, because what people do in this traumatic incident, you feel compelled to tell your side of the story immediately when you're all messed up already, when you don't even have everything. You got things that are missing in your memory, you got memory gaps. You don't want to give your story yet. They need that 48 hours like police. And that's the reason why when you asked earlier, what's the importance of a group? We come and protect that. We put our arms around you like you're a cop, and we say, okay, Don will say, we will set up a meeting with you for an official interview, okay, so that you can give the statement. But we can give you this little bit here. That's it. We talked about those 10 things. I said, tell them where the evidence was, where the firearm was, where the witnesses are. Those things that's going to help you so that you don't dig yourself. Don't no high-fiving, and don't give a bunch of statements. About medical. Important to call for medical if you're involved in the shooting, because that too, they're going to say, okay, you just let that guy die. He just tried to shoot me. But if you call for medical for yourself, then that gives that person, you don't have to do no CPR and stuff like that. But at least if they see that you called an ambulance, I need the police and an ambulance here because I've been involved in the shooting. I'm the victim, someone attacked me, and this is what I'm wearing. That stuff, that's all they need. And when the officers get there, you give them those other little things, but don't give them a full, breakdown of what you did. Say, I will cooperate with you in the presence of my turn. That's all the 911 cop wants. The patrol guy wants, okay, just to hand this off. So that's the stuff we do, and we protect that. And then sometimes we've had a case where we jumped in front of it, because even you don't want to wait all the time for the DA to make a charging decision. If you have enough information, we get our attorneys on it and we push forward. This is what our guy is going to say, and we shut it down before they make a decision. Here's the experts we're going to call. They don't want to play with you. They want the easy thing.
I'm curious, do you guys, I don't know if this is something you've ever done before, but is there resources for members to look or to see like previous cases you've handled? Like, is there a way to be like, hey man, there's all these other people, maybe some specific, I don't know if you're allowed to give out details of prior cases or how that works, but is there a way for people to see kind of how you've performed for other members before?
We really protect you guys, right? And our members. We protect our members, but the Stephen Maddox case is that's the one I told you about, the significant one from 2017, right? That was the case of the industry. That case right there, he chose to step out and start giving interviews and stuff. And then we assisted him with that, make sure he gave the right information and showed what he was doing. Well, that case you can find out there. The other case is confidential. We don't want to put you out there because a lot of times you'll find that now you're Googleable with a murder charge. And we also come up back at the end of it and we go expunge your charges as well and try to clean up, because now people can't get jobs and things like that. You don't be looked at a guy that has a murder case on Google. So we don't put your name out there, not for us to make money.
Right.
Bottom line is like I'll tell you, like this industry, like everybody's making a lot of money. Like we shouldn't even have to deal with each other. I'm talk about the other companies. We make a lot of money because only this many 0.1% of our membership will actually use us.
Right.
But those are the ones that actually need you. Okay.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be talking about each other, but these other ones, they do. We're the big boys in the room. We try not to talk about none of them because they're going to do exactly what they said they're going to do. We just do it better.
Yeah. We have members who want to tell their story for a couple of reasons. One, they want to share their experience with somebody who might not go through the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, they do want to share their experience because it was a favorable result that they got, and that their dealings with us and what that's like, because they went through that decision you talked about earlier. Like, do I need to get this? If I do, who's the right person to choose? And when they go through a case with us and it turns out they're like, I want to tell everybody. And so we have a few of those. And so
There's a couple champions.
we talk to them and say, let's make sure you understand the repercussion of using your identity. And then we have someone that's like, well, I want people to know, but I don't really want to know. And so we might anonymize their name and use some things in print where they're willing, but you would never be able to figure out who the individual was. But it is important for people to know what the members are getting into, what kinds of things we see. You know, these deadly force shootings are rare. Most of the incidents that we cover for members, the firearm's not just charged. Yeah, it might be shown. We got brandishing like all the time.
All the time.
Road rage,
all the time.
all these other things. And you had the question earlier about other content and education. We have a significant amount of educational materials on there about topics of de-escalation, avoidance, withdrawal, you know, all the things that are going to keep you from getting into this incident. We would much rather have you be out of that thing.
So let me ask you this. So are there limits, you know, to your coverage for somebody that, for instance, like the brandishing, that doesn't get into any type of real use of force, doesn't touch anybody, doesn't shoot anybody? You know, if some member does something they're not supposed to do, you know, like a lot of times brandishing is it's like, okay, you're gone too far here when you really didn't have the right to get a gun out quite yet. You know, what are kind of, I don't know if you can talk about where your limits are as far as coverage goes, but you know, those type of situations, how would you guys handle that if somebody called you and said, hey, you know, I was in a road rage and I got my gun out, but the cops arrested me and I didn't do anything? Or you know, how's that work?
It happens
regularly. It happens too much.
But the answer is, it's still self-defense initiated and related. So there's no limit to what we'll do. You know, you have the comment earlier about the price and how much it costs. Even the sort of lowest level thing where might be a road rage and they displayed the weapon, right? We're not trying to get into somebody's head whether they were scared for their life or not, and they think that this is the answer by displaying the weapon. That's fine as far as we're concerned for coverage. But even that, where maybe the police take all the reports and then they want to call you back in for an interview in a couple of days. Well, we're going to get an attorney. We're going to get them to help you get prepped. They're going to go in and do the interview with you just to make sure everything goes right. Even something like that, you know, that might be $1,000 or $1,500 attorney fee. You just paid your dues for 5 or 6 or 7 years just for sort of the lowest level little things. So the ROI for somebody is really, really good. And of course, if you have a case, you know, like Stevens, it's, you know, $400,000 plus when he'd written us a check for about $150. So the money's not an object. We never try to limit anything. The core service that we do, whether it's a brandishing or whether it's a deadly force shooting, it all applies. So we don't limit that. It's always unlimited. It's always covered up front. And you know, you also asked how do people make this decision of should I do it? I describe it like this. So you've done all this training. You did what you had to do to avoid loss of life, right? You didn't lose your life. Now here's the next 2 losses you need to be protected for. And you say yourself, loss of finances. I mean, you're going to get another mortgage on the house. Maybe you don't even have it at all. You're going to ask your uncle in a serious case, and then loss of freedom. So you could end up in jail. So those are the two things that you need to think about when you make that decision.
That's correct. And it's in the reverse order, because like a lot of our competitors have pushed the scary stuff about the civil thing, about people coming to take all your finances. So we all know that that's a 2-year run. And in most cases, if you don't have the resources, no one's going to be suing you for $1 million when you only make $1,000 a month, right? And the other thing is, when you think about that, prison sucks. You want to stay out of there, and your house doesn't matter when you're in prison. So you need the right team to keep you out of prison first, and then you can deal with the civil. And I can be honest and say, we really only had 3 civil cases in 11 years. None of those other ones will be able to tell you they've had one, because they don't come around. Because in most states, you are protected if you had the acquittal. Just like look at this simple example of George Zimmerman. The reason why they had to come with him federally, with that complaint, the civil rights case, is because, they could not, come after him civilly to sue him, because he was acquitted.
Right.
And then I'm not saying you get a free pass, but you don't have to worry about that challenge, right? So like all of this stuff is important, like we think about it, like even I can say that we've had a case in Nevada. I'm just going to say Nevada, right? Where a member had all 3, the big boys, us and 2 of the other ones. One is now gone because they didn't do the right thing. But he had 3 memberships. He called all of us. We actually got the 3rd call, I believe. So he called, Team A, Team B. Team A says, well, and it happened on Thanksgiving, right? Here in Vegas. Thanksgiving, all right? Happened on Thanksgiving. Call it Team A. They said, well, that happened at your house. Call your homeowner's insurance. It's like, what the F? All right. Number 2 guy. Now, they actually had someone that we would actually hire, but that attorney wasn't coming back for 2 weeks because he was on what? Thanksgiving vacation. So we had relationships here, and we sent our boots on the ground out here, got with our local folks, talked to the homicide detective, and we got it resolved before a charging decision. That's how you do it.
Yep. Yeah, that's
and that kind of just, reminds me of some of these commercials where you're not really selling the steak, you're selling the sizzle, you're selling peace of mind. You're selling, like, people just need to know, like, I don't need to know all the details. I don't need to worry about how this whole process, all the fine details of everything. I just need to know that there's people there ready to come help me out.
Yeah.
And man, that says a lot. It's like having, being protected from a lot of other different things for your house, your car, whatever. And it's a big deal. And I think people are kind of kidding themselves if you just really rely on the fact that, well, this, the chances are just so low. I mean, and I usually tell people, well, if the chances are so low, why are you even carrying a gun around in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, and that shows that they already have the sufficient fear that something's going to happen. Like, you made the choice to get the gun, and that's a very good decision. It should be an easy follow-on decision. And then even to stay with it, we had a member got in a very serious incident about 1.5 years ago. He'd been a member for 5 years. And I'm sure every year he got that renewal notice where he's like, oh, it's time to pay CCW again. And I'm sure at some point he's like, I never used this thing. But boy, it was about 6 months after his 5th renewal with us, his 5th anniversary, that he had to call us at 4 a.m. because somebody was in his home that he shot and killed. And now he's probably like, make sure you renew, like, stay with this. It's not something to let go of, because it's not like a fender bender. You can get fender bender every year or twice a year. This is something that, hopefully.
And even if you think, well, if the guy's in my house and I shoot him, like, why would I need anybody? It's obviously a justified shooting. Like, what's the point? But the point is, you've got this team of people that are going to come on your behalf to, be on your side, because you just never know. We talk about in our training, how do you deal with getting pulled over by the police, if you're armed, and dealing with law enforcement. And you might get the, Stan, in a big city that is a pro and knows how to deal with people, or you might get the cop that's been a cop for a day in Podunk Nowhereville and has no idea what the law is coming to guns and about guns, and now you're dealing with that person. So you just never know who you're going to get responding to your incident, and it's and your life is on the line here. Your whole entire future is on the line. So even though it might be a clearly justified use of force for you, does not mean that you still might need support on your behalf.
No question about it. And people just don't. I don't think they. And like I wouldn't either. Like I know all about this. If somebody broke into my house and I had to use the firearm, I'm going to be in the same place in my head that any of our members are going to be in. Now, I have great resources I'm going to call now, but there's no way to perceive what's going to happen to you emotionally and mentally. And I think that's the hardest part that people grapple with, is like, oh, I'm trained, I'm good. You're probably not good.
Yeah.
And for a very modest amount of money, you can have the peace of mind where you don't have to be good. You just have to have the right 1-800 number to call 24 hours a day to get the people to help you.
Right.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, this is not a game. Like, and we're all God-fearing men. Taking a human life is unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it, you own that soul.
Yeah.
People don't realize that, and it messes with you. Like, it could be the drink that you drink that same day. Every time you do it, you get that memory. You go by that intersection, you get that memory. I mean, it messes with you to take that. And that's why you have that thing that I want to tell my story, that I'm justified in this, and I want everybody to know. It's a problem. So it's best to avoid and de-escalate if you can, because you are the most significant person, and you got that tool of death and destruction on you, that you have the high standard to walk away, and you should, because you have no idea how it's going to mess your life up. And one of the things that we do, and we don't play around, like you see, like I try to be a straight shooter. When we say that you are a family, it's the same thing. Like you on SWAT, I was on SWAT. We run a young officer, we don't even know he's involved in the shooting. We bring him in, right? We treat our citizens, our members, the same way. It's like you've been about, like, it's a relationship. After they get involved in something, we do Christmas cards, and we talk them through. We get the psychological help is important too. People don't understand the importance of that. Not only to get through the trial and prepare yourself for the fight of trial or the aftermath, like, it messes your family up. And you have to know that you've done this. We're going to help you through, and we're not going nowhere. We're there for you.
Yeah.
That was CCW Safe actually innovated the industry years ago, before I even joined the company, providing emotional support counseling after these incidents, and that came from the police manual, right? So now just about everybody in the industry offers that because we did it first. CCW Safe was the first to do all paid up front, no reimbursement. Now most of the people do no reimbursement. So, Stan and Mike and Kyle did such an amazing job building the response and the service that the whole industry has changed and risen to some extent. Now they've reached limits where they're just not willing to do things that we are, but the industry is a much better place because of CCW Safe. And a lot of that happened long before I ever came along. But I will say this, I don't know where we're at on time, but I'm going to give Stan credit. One of the things I've learned in my 3.5 years in the industry, thinking about incidents and how to avoid them and how do you respond to them when you get in them, Stan said, have the person ask a question when they say, well, what do I do? I'm at the Sam's Club parking lot and the guy does this or do that or whatever. So Stan says, ask them what they would do if they didn't have the firearm. And when you ask them that, the answer 100% of the time is, I just get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
that's so funny, because in every one of my concealed carry classes, I give the example of, if you heard somebody out in your driveway, like rummaging through your truck or something, and you thought to yourself, I'm going to grab my gun, I'm going to go out there and show this guy something. If you rewound that and didn't have a gun, would you still go outside to teach the guy a lesson? Would you still go out to confront the person? If the answer is no, you have no business going out there with a gun either. You don't. It's not because you never know what you're up against. It's not a game like you're talking about. This isn't tough guy cowboy stuff. And there's consequences. There's psychological consequences to shooting somebody, whether it was the right thing or not. We see this. Law enforcement was really good years ago, especially SWAT teams and stuff. I remember our team got into shooting where we shot and killed a guy on an operation. This was 1997. And it was like, back to the PD. We're having a debrief. We're bringing people in. And I was 24 years old or something. I'm like, this is I've never heard of this before. This is what, in a professional organization, this is what happens is we offer this type of service for people that did the right thing. Now, this isn't just for the people that made a mistake and now they're suffering and they're having family problems now. This is for people doing the right thing as well. And to have that available is critical, because you can't just go around thinking, you know, I won't be, we'll just, if I have to shoot somebody in my house, it's going to be high fives and I'm going to be telling everybody. It's not how that works. And I work with multiple cops that have been in good shootings and decided, I'm not doing this anymore. Like it affected them. So for you guys to offer that type of service to everybody, regardless of what's going on, it's big time. It's industry best practice. It's been that way for a long time, especially in law enforcement, and not necessarily in the world of coverage for people, but that's a big deal. And, you know, that's something everybody should be appreciative of. That. Like, that's a big service.
Appreciate it.
Yep. This is really good. And if you guys are out there wanting to know, we got a few more minutes to go. But if you guys are wanting to know about CCW Safe, we've obviously had them on the podcast before, but I think that they offer a service that's unique in the industry that is needed for people that are involved in these things. We always say, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, thinking through all of this stuff and the training that you guys offer for people going into these situations. We have a saying that we use in our concealed carry classes: your body's never going to go but where your mind hasn't gone before. So you have to prepare yourself. Absolutely. And I think that the services that you guys offer, all of the content, all of the details, is something that's important for people to take advantage of, to prepare themselves for the day they hope never comes, that we hope never comes, because these are the worst days that you'll ever face. I mean, think of the worst possible scenario that you faced that wasn't your life in danger, and times that by probably 10,000.
Yeah. I'll say this. I've was a cop for 29 years, been teaching civilians for 11, 12 years, you know, for concealed carry. We've had thousands of people ask us every class, hey, what's your advice for concealed carry coverage? And for decades now, my advice is like, there was nobody I felt comfortable saying, because I just had a lot of reservations about a lot of different companies. And we've talked personally to company A and B and a lot of other ones before. And CCW Safe is the only company I've ever suggested to anybody, like, you should, if you have any thoughts of getting some type of coverage, call these people and get this. And so I'm not like some big wig in the industry, but with my experience and background over the years, I just never felt comfortable offering or advising anybody get anything else. So I just want to say that if anybody's interested, my advice is definitely go with CCW Safe.
Yep. So in the last few minutes that we have, is there anything else? Like I think I saw a comment about, like, is there anything like as far as medical or financial kind of assistance for people that are involved in these kinds of issues? Because you never know where these things could go. You may be in a district where you have a rogue district attorney that was appointed by some crazy person that is going after people because maybe they used a firearm in a self-defense and just, putting a target on their back. We know that happens sometimes. And district attorneys are that's an important election. If you're getting into that kind of thing, sheriffs and district attorneys, probably the two most important roles because they have the most effect on your life.
Yeah.
But talking about the other aspects of this, let's talk about that for a minute and see, what you guys offer or what you suggest in those kind of situations.
What's so unique about us, again, is that, the fact that we own our own insurance company through the captive insurance model, it gives us the power to do certain things. Like we do have a plan where if the member is deceased, and we have some assistance that we give, a certain amount of monies to help with that, funeral expenses and such. So we're outside of the regulation of true insurance. And again, we don't have that third party guy that's saying that you can't cover him for this reason. We've gone as far as, on significant things, giving security, putting them in hotels. We've done all of those things that we need to do just to protect you if there was a security issue, and you're in an apartment complex. So we've had those where, the family members start making threats and stuff. So we relocate them, and we don't put that. Y'all don't listen to that. We're not gonna give you no big old mansion or nothing, but you will get out there. We'll get you and get you out of harm's way, right? But those are the things that people don't understand how important it is. If we need a PR person, because if it's a It could be an off-color shooting where it's political, and they say, oh, it's one of those, and we'll get the people for you, whatever you need to get you through this incident. And that's the beauty of our comprehensive model, is that we have so many things that we can do without having to charge a whole bunch of money for it, because we know it doesn't happen that often. Therefore, throw the $500,000 at it. Do the thing you need to do, or whatever it costs to make this thing go away and have the positive income, or the positive outcome that we need.
Yeah.
It's like when we get into helping the member, we're really not saying no. It's like, what do we need to do to take care of the person? Stance talked about this case. It was here in the western half of the U.S. And the member had been attacked and used the firearm. The person that shot was killed. It got a lot of press in the local media, and he and his wife, they had gone to a hotel immediately because it happened right outside his apartment. They were afraid to go back home because of all this media. And so we actually, the critical response team had already been there, come back, and then they talked to us and said, gosh, we're really concerned about going home. So Gary went and did a security assessment on their property, looked at any vulnerabilities in their home, and then where they were parking and how to get in and out of the home, and just walked them through a complete security protocol so that they could feel confident in just going back to their residence. That's not in the contract.
That's right.
Like, you can't write down every little detail that somebody's going to need like that, but we're happy to do it. And you got a guy who's, again, 30 years of law enforcement investigative experience who's going to help you.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if this is a trick question or not. What if you got a police officer who's off duty? Is law enforcement eligible to get this or not? Would it cover them off duty and outside of their jurisdiction?
Not details. So
on vacation.
You on vacation, we got you.
Off duty.
Yeah, and then you also be surprised, because you and I both know that nationally, sometimes the sheriffs or the chief could decide you can't carry a certain weapon, or you're not in compliance, and whatever you were in training in the academy with, you can't use that for force, right? Well, we cover all those things. It doesn't matter what your sheriff says or your chief. We're going to cover that, like NYPD. We cover NYPD. They can't use chokeholds. If they did one off duty, right, they wouldn't be covered, because that's okay. Hey, don't do it. Well, we're going to cover them. So, those are the things that we have the freedoms to do, is that we don't have to follow certain rules, because it's important. Like, it is a use of force, and your life was in danger. Whatever you have to use, we go with it.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter about, the trigger, the amount of bullets. I mean, if you're outside that and there's a companion charge where you have to face something, or you go somewhere you're not supposed to, it doesn't matter. Yeah. If it's a true self-defense claim, we're going to cover you. Doesn't matter if you go into the mall where you're not supposed to be carrying, stuff like that. Now we say, don't do it. If you don't have to be in the bar, don't do it. Don't be drunk. But we've had a couple cases in Colorado where a guy was 2 times the limit on DUI, but somebody shot his window in the road rage, and he shot back at him. The officer arrested him for the DUI shooting while being intoxicated. Well, we beat the charge, or we helped him through that charge, and we dealt with the companion charge. Now you have to deal with that. It doesn't go away. So we're going to help you as much as we can for what you give us. But but we move on it, and that's important.
I'd say for cops, that's a big deal, filling in those gaps, because I think a lot of cops believe, well, I can carry anywhere in the United States. I can go into this gas station in Las Vegas, whatever, even though I live in Illinois.
Yeah.
And they just think somehow magically they're covered or whatever. Yeah. And it's really not. You're really solo. And like you said, if the police recover your gun and it's got some Talon grips stuck on the side, and your policy says you can't add anything to your gun, your agency, your FOP, your union, nobody, that's the first moment they're going to say, no, you were violating policy.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do jack squat about it.
We have thousands and thousands and thousands of officers who use us for their off-duty coverage. So that's not uncommon. We have discounts for them, recognizing their service. Same thing for military. So just come on and give us a call, and we'll make sure that they get that. But yeah, we've seen all the instances. We're 13 years into this now. There's not anything that we haven't seen or tried to cover. We're just really focused on take care of the members, and then everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah,
that's our rule. That everything stops when that call comes in. 8 people get activated 24 hours a day. Our founders get activated on every single call to that hotline. So do I. So does the critical response team. everything stops. And in fact, a giant percentage of our, not giant, maybe giant's the wrong word, but a significant percentage of our employees are just for the critical response team. They have no role in the business side of things.
Right.
They're there to help the members.
Does your company do anything else? Or is this all you guys do?
Yeah, this is all we do.
That's a big deal. They're not selling magazines.
We don't sell magazines. We don't sell,
Company A.
t-shirts,
No, we're not doing that.
hats. When I first came to the company 3.5 years ago, at some point we maybe sold a few t-shirts, but people would call, our members would call and say, gosh, I want to get a t-shirt. Why don't you sell those on the website? And I'm like, we're not in the t-shirt business.
Yeah.
Like, tell us what size you are. We'll send you one.
Yeah.
So we have racks of t-shirts at the office when the members call or they want a hat, and we just say, give us the size, and we'll say, oh, your daughter wants one, fine. And so we just mail them out.
Yeah, you guys are like you said, building a family, and that includes your members, your customers, and once people get in a group, they feel a sense of pride about it. And they probably want to just be like, hey man, I want to let everybody know what group I'm a part of. It's whether you're in the military or law enforcement, you're in a whatever club you're in. It's kind of a camaraderie thing. I can understand how people might want to be like, hey, I'll tell people.
We've seen it. We've had some people like, that's the last thing I want people to know is that I have this coverage. Well, fine, no problem. But I did want to add, because you guys, your channel, the things that you do personally, you're dealing with a lot of folks who are very, high gun enthusiasts. They're practicing, training, doing all these things. And then you also have some folks who, like, I'm a first-time gunner, first-time permit holder. I just give you my one quick personal story. When Stan and the guys were recruiting me to come and be the president of the business, my wife and I were gun owners. We went to the range a couple times a year. We were home defense. We didn't carry. We'd never heard of the industry. And so when I found out about the opportunity and talked to them a couple times, I was researching the industry. I was telling my wife about it. We were in Atlanta at the time, and it was going to require us to move to Oklahoma City. And my wife said, she goes, we'll figure out if this is a good place to be and people to be partnered with, but we're going to be members. Mm-hmm. Whether we decide that you should work there or not, we're going to be members. And she said, in which we both agreed, we'll pray about whether these are the right people to be partnered with. Yeah. And of course, that answer came loud and clear, that these are the right people to be partnered with and to work together. And, the Holy Spirit's never wrong. So,
absolutely.
To this day, 3.5 years later, the things that we've been able to experience personally and professionally because of CCW Safe, we literally had this conversation about 2 weeks ago. I told Stan, I said, there's no way we could be a part of an organization where we would have this much personal pride, this much professional opportunity for me to help people unless it came from God. We couldn't have done this on our own and made this decision on our own and got lucky enough on our own that was.
It's the story of the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
You guys are sweeping in after something horrible has happened, and you're taking that person to where they need to be to get right.
Yeah.
And paying for those services. That's literally straight out of scripture. So that's amazing. And to follow up to what you were saying, we do have a lot of people that come out and train a lot, but there's also a lot of people that between the 5-year licensing in Illinois, they haven't even shot their gun, and it seems like those people are the ones that always get involved in these things in some way or another. And so it's one of those things, like, don't sleep on this stuff.
Yeah.
Don't put it to the back of your mind. Don't say, well, I'll take care of it, because you never know when trouble is going to come. Yeah. As you said, it's rare.
Yeah.
But if it happens to you, if it happens to you guys out there, you don't want to be left with your pants down, for lack of a better term, because that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to have to wrap up. We're right at an hour. I thank you guys so much for coming in here and explaining this, giving us all this detail, and showing us how much of a family you guys really are. So if our listeners are out there interested in your services, viewers, I guess I should say, not listeners, this is not radio, but where can they find you guys, and how can they get connected with you guys?
Yeah, so you can go straight to the website, ccwsafe.com. You can find us on all the major social, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, X, all those things. Call our 800 number. We're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I got a highly qualified, experienced team of folks that answer those phones. They can answer any question you have. At least a tenured person on that line has been with us 3 years. They don't leave. we treat our employees the same way we treat our members. So give us a call or go straight to the website. If you go to the website, we have a little tool on there called the Plan Advisor. If you click that, it asks you 4 questions and it shows you the plans that are right for you if you don't already know coming in.
Yep.
And then you click it. Once you join, we process your membership. You're covered immediately for that moment forward. There's no other thing we got to do. We want you to upload a copy of your permit. That's fine. You don't have to do that instantaneously. You're covered as soon as everything processes on the site.
Awesome. And if you guys do that out there, make sure you told them that Survival Dispatch, that you heard about them on Survival Dispatch, and they'll take it from there. Great company. We highly recommend them for all of you guys that are concerned about these kinds of situations arising. So that's it for today. Like I said, these are going to be much shorter episodes than what we're normally used to because we have a time limit. But go ahead and click like, subscribe, and share this content with anybody that you think would be interested in it. And we'll see you guys back at the same time tomorrow. God bless America.
Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Awesome
Thanks
stuff.
so much.
Hey.
One time for the USA, she back in the biggest way. From the hood to the home of the range. Shout out to U.S. veterans, the ones who drew them weapons. They took that oath and kept it, too deep and then protected God's ground. President took a bullet to the head, no we won't lie down. Sediment couldn't stop them, raised his fist and said to fight now. Residents took your ballots and they voted, this land ours now. It's yours now, it's mine now, it's God's ground. This is do or die screaming, fight, fight, fight. God's ground. We're standing on God's ground. We ain't running. They know we got that red blood running through our veins, through the peril and the pain. Make no mistake, this is no man's land. We're standing on God's ground. We ain't running. They know we got that red blood running through our veins, through the thunder and the rain. Make no mistake, this is no man's land. We're standing on God's ground.
In the band that God created, why they wanna call evil good? Don't know me, they wanna alternate it. Yeah, alternate it. Red to blue with that fallen nature. Back to red, I called on my savior. I know God did us all a favor. Never got the right man in office. Thinking of the people that's spoken. Falling down, but we never have those losses. God's promises won't be broken. I stand up in the land of the free, but it doesn't mean everybody gonna be brave. I'll turn my back to the enemy, then let me see God's people and enemy saved.
This is do or die screaming, fight, fight, fight. God's order coded to read the night. We're standing on God's ground. We ain't running. They know we got that red blood running through our veins, through the peril and the pain. Make no mistake, this is no man's land. We're standing on God's ground. We ain't running. They know we got that red blood running through our veins, through the thunder and the rain. Make no mistake, this is no man's land. We're standing on God's ground.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our